Tell us about security there. Terry Tozer is a retired airline pilot. He's going to be talking to us from Scotland. Terry Tozer, can you give us a sense of what you think happened, what's gone down at this airport?
Well, not really. I'm obviously a long way from there, but I mean the standard procedure would be to evacuate the terminal, which I think is probably what's going on. And to gather people in all the kind of safety zones that have been predetermined. I think the biggest question that this asks really is, how far back does the front line of security come? I mean, as it is at the moment, anybody can walk into an airport.
I mean, surely this must prompt a major security review, the fact that people can take their bags so close to so many people before being screened.
Well, indeed, and of course, I'm sure the terrorists are very well aware of that. And I mean, if you think of the restrictions and the difficulties that have been imposed ever since the current restrictions were put in place, can you imagine a situation where you have to be screened before you can even go into the terminal building? I mean, it would create a nightmare scenario. And
the challenge being that there seems to be new security issues. If a plane's not been blown out of the sky or somebody attacking the pilot, people attacking those getting onto planes. So very hard, I should imagine, to keep abreast of all these fast-moving developments.
Yes, indeed. I think it's basically impossible. I think it seems to me that the only route to a solution is intelligence-led activity, because just simply putting up barriers is not a practical solution.
Tell me about the challenges of evacuating people in a situation like this.
Well, they're pretty substantial, aren't they? If you think the number of people potentially in an airport, the security staff will have a drill, there will be procedures, but if you get everybody out into the pedestrian areas and the car parks, how do you know there isn't a bomb out there as well? So it's a pretty difficult situation, but where do you suggest that everybody goes and stands in order to be safe? And I think we've heard some of this on the media this morning about a certain level of confusion. Do we send people outside, or do we keep them in the main terminal building? It's a tough one, because nobody knows where these guys are or what they've done. Yes,
because so often you've seen one attack, people have been evacuated, and then the second perpetrator is waiting there to let off another bomb. Terry, I just want to update you on figures that we're getting from the Belgian broadcaster VRT. They're saying that 13 people are dead, 35 severely injured after the Brussels explosions. NEAVE Barker, he's our correspondent, he's at the airport now. NEAVE, this is quite a dramatic increase.
It is a significant and worrying increase. Let me explain what I'm seeing here at ZAVENTEM Airport. There are still large numbers of people being evacuated from the main terminal buildings. This is a mixture of airport staff. I've even seen some cabin crew, along with just ordinary travellers who are looking very confused and very bewildered to arrive here in Brussels to see dozens and dozens of police cars and ambulances. Of course, the main objective for the police right now is to make sure that this area is cordoned off and is clear, and allow the investigators to go on inside. But what we have heard from eyewitnesses who are at the site and scene of two explosions is that a large number of people have been seriously injured and some killed, that at least two blasts happened, one inside, one outside the departure area. One inside exploded close to the American Airlines desk, where a large number of people, we believe, had gathered to take early morning transatlantic flights.
NEAVE, the state broadcaster, is saying that a suicide bomber has been responsible for this. We don't know if the suicide, how many explosions are linked to the suicide bomber. I should imagine just one. What are you hearing about that, and what are you hearing about people's injuries and what the explosions were?
Well, again, what we're basing our knowledge on is on eyewitness statements. both on social media and in the Belgian media, along with some initial commentary from intelligence analysts who've been looking at the scene of the blasts here at ZAVENTEM airport. They say that this was a very, very powerful explosion, powerful enough to throw people into the air. Both the roof and the entire facade of the departure terminal have been largely destroyed. It looks very much like a very well thought out, very calculated couple of explosions. And now also very worrying news from central Brussels too, where literally in the last few seconds we're hearing of 3 distinct explosions at the Art-Loire metro station, Malbec metro station and Schumann metro station. As we heard earlier, both of the last 2 that I mentioned there, close to the European institutions. These are major explosions at the heart of political Europe, a very symbolic act, apparently designed to cause as much harm and damage and loss of life as possible.
NEAVE, we believe that an emergency cabinet meeting is happening at this moment. Also in the last half an hour or so, the threat level was raised to 4. That's the highest level, and it suggests a serious threat and an imminent threat. Talk us through what you know about that.
Well, that's right. Well, in the wake of the Paris attacks last November, Belgium increased its security levels to level number 4. But about a couple of months ago, they actually reduced it to 3. Of course, Belgium and France has known very well that they are intrinsically linked when it comes to the flow of attackers and weapons between the 2 cities that were linked, of course, to the killings on November the 13th. But still, the authorities felt that the security level had reduced enough for them to knock it down a notch. It's probably very early to ask questions about why that was the case, because clearly what we're seeing here is a series of coordinated explosions, and questions will already be asked as to whether or not that was a wise thing to do. But even regardless of the fact that security levels had been reduced, there was still very much a high level presence of both armed police, of regular police and armed military who were regularly seen in the city on patrol, and most certainly here at the airports and train stations. It is, of course, hugely concerning for Belgians themselves. Many people are going to be questioning, of course, exactly where is safe. If, you know, wanting to take a train to work on a Monday morning, you know, they face the possibility of these kind of threats, despite the lengths that the authorities had gone to. What we're likely to see in the coming hours, of course, is the emergency services doing their work, quick responses from the government as they increase the heightened state of alert to the maximum level, level number 4, and a coordinated effort to try and ensure that no further attacks happen here in the Belgian capital.
NEAVE Barker, you were talking a little bit earlier on about the links between Belgium and France, the relationship that the attackers had, who conducted the Paris attacks in November, and the security concerns and the security failings. Let's bring in Jackie Rowland. She's joining us live now from Paris. Jackie, we now know that there have been 3 explosions, 2 at the airport, 1 at the metro station in the heart of the city. Do you think that this is possibly going to lead to a security clampdown in France? Are there concerns that we might see another attack there?
France is already under a state of emergency with security levels at the very highest level possible. So there's nowhere more for them to go, really. In the next few minutes, there will be a high-level meeting at the Élysée Palace. We last saw one of these on Saturday morning. President François Hollande calling in his Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve, other senior political and security officials to assess what's going on in Belgium and to figure out what response is necessary on the French territory. But as I said, when you're already under a state of emergency and you already have thousands of troops who might normally be on assignment overseas actually deployed on the streets of cities all over France, it's pretty difficult to see where you can go from there. Of course, the French will be as worried as the Belgians about the fact that such an attack, again, a series of coordinated attacks, timed within moments of each other, that it's possible to carry out that kind of operation at a time when one has the impression that Brussels is under lockdown. I was in Brussels until Saturday evening, covering the arrest of Salah Abdeslam, and the police presence, military presence on the streets was very noticeable, because clearly they were aware that this was a very sensitive time, because according to the way in which intelligence agencies understand these networks, there tends to be when one cell goes down, and one could perceive the arrest of Salah Abdeslam as being that cell being closed down, the way the network works is another cell will automatically be activated. So there was already an awareness that other cells could automatically be activated in the hours and days following the arrest of Salah Abdeslam. This is exactly what seems to have happened. So despite the fact that police had warned about this and intelligence agencies were aware of it as a possibility, it has still happened. So it really leaves the French authorities all over Europe, not to mention ordinary people who, take planes, take trains, use the underground, really wondering what more can be done to try to anticipate and prevent this kind of incident.
Yeah, as you say, there will be a meeting with Francois Hollande and security officials a little later on. So, Jackie, as soon as you get some detail from that, we'll come back to you. This is what we know so far. There's been one explosion at Malbec station on the Metro Underground network. Local media say the Brussels Metro is being closed down. Now, that station really is in the heart of the city, very close to EU institutions. Many people going through that station, very many high-profile people going through that station. Around 8 a.m. local time, 2 explosions went off at the capital's ZAVENTEM airport. Local media say one was inside the departure area while the other was outside the terminal building. According to local television, 10 people are dead and 30 injured. Actually, that's been upgraded to 13 dead and 35 people injured. The Belgian Prime Minister, Charles Michel, has been reacting to the news. He says, "We are following the situation minute by minute. Our absolute priority will be given to the victims and people present at the airport."